Tell me the weather.
It's 72 degrees with showers in Hopkins. There is currently a flash flood watch in effect.
I know. We gotta get out of here. Let's go to someplace hot, dry, sunny. Let's go to the Holy Land. So today, we're headed to the Holy Land. In particular, we're going to Capernaum on the Sea of Galilee, where many of Christ's miracles and his ministry took place. We will check out the very iconic Greek Orthodox monastery of the 12 Apostles that is on the shores of Galilee. Okay, here we are outside the Monastery of the 12 Apostles on the Sea of Galilee. You can see the sea back there. Consecrated in 1931, it was built among the ancient ruins of Capernaum. There was, of course, an older Orthodox church in Capernaum, most significantly the octagonal Byzantine church of the 5th century, which was built over the ruins of the home of St. Peter the Apostle. Archaeologists found the remains of a simple 1st century house under the Byzantine church, considered to be the Apostle Peter's home. Galilee still has kind of a rural feel, as you can see by the animals and this donkey. So here we are inside the double-domed church. It has beautiful iconography with some scenes from Christ's ministry in Capernaum and other events in the New Testament. For example, here we have the Apostle Peter walking on the water. And interestingly, not far from Capernaum in Magdala, a 1st century fishing boat was discovered in 1986. In front here we see the church, the iconostasis, and the inscription above there, it says Damianos, the first Patriarch of Jerusalem, 1931. That's when they consecrated the church. And here on the iconostasis, as expected, there is an icon of the 12 apostles to whom this church is dedicated. Behind the altar, we find more scenes from Christ's ministry. An interesting and unique aspect of this church, though, is really the 2 domes. So when we look up, here we see the first dome is more like a typical dome. This dome is the one that's closer to the altar in the nave. It has Christ in its center, surrounded by the 12 prophets. The inscription held up by the angel says, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord of Sabaoth, heaven and earth are full of your glory. Hosanna in the highest, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And then it says here, Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ, the Almighty, as is traditional, and is surrounded by the Old Testament prophets and figures who await for the coming Messiah. The second dome here is unusual. Here we have the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days, it comes from the book of Daniel. As I watched, thrones were set in place, and an Ancient of Days took his throne. His clothing was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was fiery flames, and its wheels were burning fire. A stream of fire issued forth and flowed out from his presence. 1,000,000 served him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood attending him. The court sat in judgment, and the books were opened. And then Daniel goes on, I watched then because of the noise of the arrogant words that the horn was speaking. And as I watched, the beast was put to death, and its body destroyed and given over to be burned with fire. As the rest of the beasts, their dominion was taken away, but their lives were prolonged for a season and a time, as I watched in the night visions. And the beasts in Daniel refer to the different empires, Persian, Greek, Babylonian. And then it goes on. And I saw one like the Son of Man, coming with the clouds from heaven. And he came to the Ancient of Days and was presented before him. To him was given dominion and glory and kingship, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is everlasting dominion that shall not pass away, and his kingship is one that shall never be destroyed. The church always understood the Son of Man to be Jesus himself, as is witnessed in the Gospels. The Ancient of Days title, like in the icon here, when considering Daniel chapter 7, has been understood as God the Father, as implied in the Gospels, and as many church fathers and writers asserted, such as Hippolytus, St. Cyprian, Lactantius, and St. John Chrysostom. However, sometimes the church has also used the Ancient of Days titles for Jesus, since Jesus, being God, exists from before all time with the Father and the Spirit. So here in the second dome, this is an icon of Jesus, as evidenced with the Jesus Christos, right? Iota, sigma, he, sigma, the first and last letters in Greek of the name Jesus Christ. This Ancient of Days iconography for Christ first appeared in the 6th century in the Byzantine Empire. I think the timing is also significant of the 6th century, as they were still fighting the heresy of Arianism. That is, the false teaching by Arius that Christ was created, not God from before all time, not of Ancient of Days. They also may have had in mind today's reading from John 14 that emphasizes the closeness of the Son to the Father. John 14 verses 8 through 10 read, Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied. Jesus said to him, Have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, Show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. So here's the Ancient of Days icon of Christ. And now let's take a peek at the back of the church. Okay, so now we're looking at the back of the church. In the back of the church, it's got this beautiful icon of the Last Judgment. It's huge. It covers the whole back wall. And really, and you see these in other churches too. It's not unique to this church. But as you leave the church and you've heard the gospel, you've heard the preaching, you've heard what we need to do, as you go out, you're reminded that you will be accountable. We all will be accountable for our actions. And so that we don't just go to church and then, but then live a life not consistent with our Orthodox Christian faith. But as we go out, we remember that we will be held accountable by our actions. So that's our visit to Capernaum today. God bless you. Have a beautiful day.